You Don't Camp is still going on. We are at camp. And today I would like to ask you to help me welcome these amazing pastors. Pastor Noah Balesambu of Worship Harvest Chitukutwe. Hey! This is Apostle Mose and Pastor Ari's pastor. Hey, you better be afraid, my friend. Omusumba wabasumba. And then we have the beautiful Pastor Cindy Adong, the pastor of Worship Harvest Gulu. Hey! She's very single. Yeah. Please first sit down. First of all, that clock, that time has to be adjusted for us. We have 20 minutes. I don't know about you, 15 minutes, so adjust for us. We will be having a conversation here with these two people who planted last year, 2022. And they'll be telling us very briefly about their powerful stories of planting a church. So we'll start with the tallest man among us. Eh? Not Badang, please. Pastor Noah.
Yes.
I'd like you to, I think I might ask them one question, and then they tell us the whole story. I've known you for a couple of years. You've been in Worship Harvest. You've been an elder in the ministry. You've been one of those constants. You, of course, with Pastor Rachel Balesambu, your lovely wife. And so I just want you to tell us your story of church planting, because you've been here all these years. Were you secretly planning to plant a church and just waiting for the opportunity and no one was giving it to you all these years? And then what happened between then? How long have you been in the ministry? What took you so long to plant? How come you decided to plant in 2022? Over to you.
Wow. Yes. First of all, I would just like to thank Apostle and Revma for making this so easy. You see, we who planted, I keep having this joke with Pastor Glory, that those of us who planted towards the end of last year, we have it easy because we were well prepared.
You do.
The teaching was, the word that was spoken to us, the seeds were germinating. And so I find it, I feel that I've cheated. We have cheated that, we planted in such a season that the ministry was so ripe to plant churches. And so I'm thankful to the leadership. I'm thankful to Apostle and Revma for leading us this well and making it easy for us, those of us who dodged church planting for a very long time. Very, very long time. So, our hallmarks, I'll just quickly go through our story. Our hallmarks joining Worship Harvest was one, and it's fireplace. Our neighbors were hosting fireplace, and we were helping them cook a meal for fireplace. And when we were delivering the dishes, they said, no, come join us, sit and let's have a conversation. And we were hooked. The thing that sealed the deal, at least for me, was the peace plan. Discovering membership class and Apostles teaching about the peace plan at the hub somewhere. And, and I was like, wow, this church really wants to take over the world. And there is a plan. I want to join it.
Yeah.
So
what
we
year
joined.
was that?
That was
long ago.
It was a while back. We joined in at the end of 2008. Yes.
Yeah, that is important. Yes. When it says they've been dodging for many years.
Orbit. We were around the orbit. I was in Come Alive 2000. We were in the orbit. But yeah, we then got planted in the church in 2008. Then we were invited into the eldership in 2010. And so we've been elders in Worship Harvest since then.
Wow. 13 years as elders.
Yes.
Never church planter.
I'm coming. Yeah, so we have done, and we've always had a heart to serve at church. That's one thing. It's like anytime our time is required, anytime Apostle would call, would be there, available to serve. Good, you know those people who serve from, hey, you want what? We'll drive you there. I remember when they were going to plant Worship Harvest Ginger, were glad to offer our car to take the church planters to Ginger. Well, fuel, that's cool. And anyway, so hallmarks, yes, we become elders. And at that time, it was that thing of trying to understand who elders in the ministry are. What do we do? How do we dress like? How do we walk? You know, at that time, there were no titles, so you're cool. Your elders, yes, you meet when Apostle calls you for his G12. After that, you're cool. You're all on first name basis. But then as the ministry grew, it then started dawning on us that there's this thing, the natural progression of things, especially post-COVID. The natural progression of leadership or involvement in church is church planting. And I think we knew in our hearts that at some point it's going to be very difficult to avoid it. So God was preparing us in one way or another. Then one day we got the boldness. We were with Apostle at home and you were discussing. He's like, Apostle, what's on your heart? What's on your heart? And he said,
dangerous question.
Very dangerous. Yeah. I don't know why we asked. Out of all people. Anyway. It's like our worship harvest Chitukutwe, and that was in the beginning of 2022.
Last year.
And so from then we knew what was on our Father's heart. And so the cat was out of the bag. And so fast forward, one day Apostle sends a message. It's like, I'm coming to visit Worship Harvest Chira, and I'm going to commission you.
Commission you to do what?
To do what? To do what? And anyway, at that point, I think all the teaching that we have received, from G12s to MCs, what I didn't mention is that even when we remember we were elders in 2010, and so when it came to planting Worship Harvest Nalia, we are the ones who came with the Nsubgas. Remember, the great supporters. So the Nsubgas are going, yes, let's go with them, help. What was that thing? We used to squeeze the water off the slab. Prepare the place for the preacher. And then, you continue. And so even when it came, so we grew in Worship Harvest Nalia. We, led MCs, became cohort shepherds. And then, we joined, that's when we went into zones. And we were part of Zone 5, which was covering Chira, Bulindo, Chitukutwe, all those ends. Then Zone 5 planted Worship Harvest Chira. And so we went with the lovely Sebombos. Where are they? Our lovely pastors. And so we went with them. So we also started,
helped them and supported them.
Supported
to
them.
Plant Chira.
Yes,
Were you squeezing water off the slab?
Professional supporters.
Yeah.
And so and then also started an MC in Chitukutwe. The MC grew, it became a cohort, it grew, it became a zone. The zone grew, we split into 3 zones. And then still growing, you're a zonal pastor, all is good. Then, I don't know, these guys who hung around Apostle too much. He said, you have to plant a church. Anyway, long story short, that zone then becomes, we plant it and becomes Worship Harvest Chitukutwe. We planted with about 38 people on the database. We're now 96 on the database.
Wow.
And so, yeah. Again, I feel like we cheated because we were so well prepared. And I want to thank Pastor Chris, who prepared us so well, getting to acclimatize with our venue and all that. But one of the highlights of the story I'm sharing is that the natural progression of ministry is church planting. Explain. You're a good Worship Harvest member. They invited you to church, you came, and you are excited. You join an MC. When you're a good MC member, your MC leader appoints you as a huddle leader. You become a very good huddle leader. You then plant an missional community. You become an MC leader. You're a very good MC leader. You appoint huddle leaders. They grow under your leadership. The MC that was 1 becomes 4, 5. You become a cohort shepherd. And when you're a very good cohort shepherd, because you're leading well, you soon become a zonal pastor. And when you continue being a good zonal pastor, guess what you're going to do?
You'll be commissioned.
You'll be commissioned. So
I like it.
If you're a good Christian in Worship Harvest, you'll become a church planter.
Wow. Hey. Pastor Noah from 2008. Established 2008.
Established. Yes.
What a blessing. Can you first clap for this man of God? I know that he has released many people just from that story. Now let me ask this Miss Adong, Pastor Cindy Adong, the vivacious Pastor Cindy Adong. Tell us your story. Tell us your story, Pastor Cindy.
Hi, everyone. You're so many, sitting down here, up here.
Are you seeing Worship Harvest Gulu?
Yeah, completely. It's so good to be here. Thank you, Apostle and Rev Ma, for creating this opportunity for me and for all of us. So my story began in 2012 after I left the university. I was still looking for a job, and then I got one, and a friend of mine told me about Worship Harvest. And the way Worship Harvest was sold to most of us at that time was it's this cool church where you can wear trousers, the congregation is small, they sing really, really dope songs, there's soda after the service, they call you up after the service to share your highlights, and if you have questions. So it kind of felt like, let's go and see. And from the first time I went, I was hooked. So church for me was like plot. I absolutely loved it. I used to go on Sundays. I used to work in Kampala, but then I got posted to Ginger. I used to board a bus every Friday from Ginger, and Worship Harvest was one of my highlights. I'd dress up, go to church, and just that it was really fun. And then after church, I'd board the bus back to Ginger. So that's what it was like in the beginning, and I absolutely loved it. And then we started MCs, and I was part of commissioned MC. So commissioned was led by the Okulos at the time, and still it was lots of fun. We'd go, we'd sit, talk, eat, catching up with friends. I loved just that feeling of plot, which is godly, but it feels like plot. So that was my life. But the thing I didn't want was commitment, like that thing of you have to be here. So whenever I'd ask my friends, I'm like, guys, is this thing, should we go? They're like, yeah, I think let's go. Then we'd go. Then, there was New Dawn Camp. I was like, hey, that's plot. We carry snacks. We go to the room. We talk. So for me, that's how I used to see this thing, It just had to be fun. Little commitment, lots of fun. Okay, hear the word, but that
little
was the
commitment,
plan.
lots of fun.
Yeah. So that's what it was like for me. So we used to go to church. Commission started. MC was lots of fun. We used to go out on Frontier, but still, I really didn't want to separate myself from, friends. It had to be cozy. So that was it for me. We went commission, and then commission was going to plant Worship Harvest Bugolobi. So still fun, we go. Now I started to serve. I really like to serve. So I was like, hey, guest experience, all these things, guest experience. I'd do lots of that. And then fireplace, I used to serve at fireplace. I was also there in the background serving food. But I just never saw myself as a leader. I thought that the future of Worship Harvest was like a singing church, like we would be moving all over the world singing. So me in my mind, I was like, I'm going to be.
And what was your role? What was the role you saw yourself doing?
I was really good at makeup. So I used to do makeup for the worship team when they'd have concerts. I'd be the escorting, supporting
makeup
artist.
For the traveling stars of Worship Harvest. Hey, my God, what a vision!
It just sounded fun and hip.
Having
fun.
Then
we'll travel, we'll shop. That was the life. I just saw myself enjoying.
We will travel and shop.
So,
you guys, the main point of your entire story is the word what? Fun. Lots.
That was it. And so, I keep doing that at Worship Harvest Bugolobi. But the thing that I think stood out the most was that I stayed. I just kept going. I don't think I missed, very few Sundays, but I'd go for chat, for garage, MC, just constantly being available. Come to Worship Harvest. I was always there. And then serving, that was fun for me. I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And so we kept going. Then I was part of an MC, and then I started one. I started my own MC, which failed. And then
It wasn't
fun. So I started another one, and at that time, I think we were doing zones, and the members in my MC belonged, there were some from Chirinya, there were some from Muyenga, there were some from, I think, in Tebe Road, they were all over the place. So because of the zoning system, we somehow, lost members, and then I found another MC, but still an MC leader, but at that time, I didn't feel like, well, I'm just an MC leader. You know that thing when you see yourself as just maybe in the background, like I'll stay here for some time, as long as it was comfortable. And so after MC leading, we started cohorts, and then I became a cohort shepherd. I had support. We were leading as a pair. And so I still felt comfortable. I was like, I'm not yet in the limelight. I can still, So we just kept going. I kept, hearing the word, and then lockdown came. We were exposed to lots of teachings. By that time, Apostle had started listening to Bishop Doug. So the tone of the message had changed a bit.
A little bit.
Not so much fun.
Not so much fun anymore.
But that was it. I just kept listening and, stayed. It got uncomfortable, but I was like, let me see where this thing goes. And then after that, I was a zonal pastor at Worship Harvest Bugolobi. And at the end of 2021, at the School of Ministry Intensive, our pastors told us, why don't you come and attend the intensive? Come and sit through all the days of the intensive. So I said, okay, plot, So we went, we came and sat through the intensive. But I think at that time, the message of church planting was starting to get really loud. Like Pastor Noah said, I felt like we've cheated because we're one of the groups where we've actually been taught about the church planting, how, why, what happens, what to expect. So that's when the message started. Apostle Mose was preaching about it. He invited Bishop Danny from Lighthouse, who also had left Ghana to come and plant a church. So it started looking like a thing. Sometimes you'll hear about church planting, but I don't know if I had, apart from Apostle, it was just a thing of, planting churches. So that's when it started to, I think that's when the seed was planted, church planting. So the year began, and I started School of Ministry. Again, by the instruction of my pastors, I did School of Ministry. And like I'd said earlier, I just kept exposing myself to the word. Apostle said this morning that the word of God is what brings change. You don't know how it works, but somehow you find that the things you are passionate about start to change. The things that you give priority to start to change. The word was really interesting. I loved to read the Bible, to listen to sermons. And we, like he said again this morning, that we had an overdose of the word last year. Yeah. We were listening to podcasts. We had the gatherings. There was Garage. There was MC Live. There were books. We were doing School of Ministry. So every Friday. And somehow, honestly, I don't know how it happened, but my heart was just open to this thing of church planting. It became urgent, and I just used to pray. I'm like, God, if this is what you want me to do, I don't know how it's going to work, but let's see, And it was on one of those days that, we had started seeing people who were like us. You know how you kind of feel like the people who will plant churches, you identify them. But then the pastors were now, getting younger. It was coming closer to home. And now it started to
fire.
No, sorry, because I'm young.
Before that, what were they? What were they before that? What were they?
Sorry.
Excuse us. Anyway, let's continue. We shall talk after here.
The dog that barks.
The dog that barks the most is being hit.
Exactly.
I'm just for my friends on behalf of others.
So it started to come closer to home. It started to feel like it's a thing that can be done by anyone. And that's what was, being said by Apostle, that it's all our responsibility to take part in this thing of church planting. And so I just kept listening to the word, flow prayer. I would come, and the more you obey, the more you obey. Like once you start to obey, you're more likely to obey again.
Okay.
So that's how it was for me. And then I remember the way I got told about going to Worship Harvest Gulu, which was really wonderful, was my pastor, Pastor Angela. I think it was at the end of one gathering or something. She opened a group. And I was on the group with her and Pastor Okulo. Yeah, and I had no resistance whatsoever. She just sent, it was called Okulos and Cindy, something like that. And the message was, Gulu, wink. I said, yes, I'll do it.
Wow.
It was as simple
Gulu
as
wink,
that.
I'll do it.
It was as simple as that.
I
guess.
receive it. I'll be there. Network leaders, don't try this at home. It may not work. Location pastors, it may not work. Some people are trying to create groups now. What was the group called? And write the place and say, wink. I want to do it. The joke is on you. So Pastor Cindy, I'm interested in what were the things that were some of the resistors in your mind, the things that you were finding difficult to give up in your mind before, when you're like, church planting could mean the following things being taken away. Just give us a clue, because you might help someone. It might be some of the things in their mind. Can some people, it's leaving my family. But those were not your things. What were your things that, like the big two
that
or
was
three?
one of mine, leaving my friends and family. Remember, I was that kind of person. Friends,
Plot.
let's go together, let's do it together. So I was like, no, I leave these people. I didn't want to be doing anything alone. I really enjoyed the comfort of, The other one was, I was single at the time. Well, still am,
the
but
time.
no.
Hey!
Still am.
She still is, but it's not a very big deal anymore. Sit down, keep quiet.
So I was single, but I just used to keep feeling like planting already you're single. Now you plant a church and become a pastor. It just
A
felt
single
like,
pastor.
Yeah, like the pool was getting smaller. I felt like, God, no, that one, no. I'm not willing to be single and a pastor. Like, it felt like a disadvantage, if you know what I'm saying. Like, yeah, it disqualifies more people. So I was like, I want to be married, so I'll not plant a church.
Whoa,
imagine. The other thing was, I don't know if you guys remember, but I had this really cool haircut.
How can we not remember?
Nice and slick.
It's your signature hair.
So,
Apostle, it's okay. It is well.
Do you remember?
He doesn't. It's fine. Her signature. You remember it, you guys? Her signature kabangs,
One of the things that held me back was this hair. It looks really dope, and I don't think I'll find a hairdresser who can
In
handle
Gulu.
it outside Kampala. So I was like,
what a shock!
I was like, I'll stay in
I will
Kampala.
stay in
Someone
Kampala
else will plant that.
for my
Someone
hair.
else with hair will plant that church, but not me, because I have to maintain this. Yeah, those are
So
some
the
of
people, they
my-
can go to hell, but I will keep my hairstyle.
It was really, really.
The truth is, you guys, we are out of time. But I hope that, for me, as I'm listening to these two people, I'm hearing God's preparation. Even right now as we're here, God is preparing us for something bigger than us. He's giving us an opportunity for significance. While you're allowed to lead that MC, while you're allowed to serve on the guest experience team, while you allow, just as you allow them, that thing you said, that the more you obey, the more you'll be likely to obey. That you are prone to serve and to help and sometimes we want, I kept asking them, was there a dramatic thing? Both of them said, no. I didn't have a burning bush experience. I didn't have a dramatic something. But I obeyed, and in the obedience, you found your significance. Lives are changing. Your own lives have changed as a result of taking on the church planting mantle. And I thank you so much for sharing your story and encouraging. So many of us here today will be sitting here at the next New Dawn camp, telling our story. And some of us, because we've had the story of ordinary, loving believers who have said yes to the call of God and are now mothering and fathering and being shepherds of others. So I want you to help me once again. Give a loud applause and help me honor Pastor Noah Abale Samvu and Pastor Cindy Adong for their yes to Jesus. Wow. Thank you so much. Keep